Hey, what's up guys, it's your boy Stiff Biscuit, and welcome back to my Arthritis Any Percent Speedrun, and I need to apologize to all my Devil May Cry fans out there, because it has been a good minute since my last Devil May Cry video, and I know you were just foaming at the mouth waiting for one, so here it is. And the first thing we gotta do before we start out on our epic journey is we gotta test that square button, because after all the abuse I've put it through, you never know if that baby's gonna croak one day. And after we confirmed everything's in working order, we head out to take out some birds, because they're actually just secret spy drones created by the government, and then we headed into our first secret mission. And during the first secret mission, that's when I first used my devil trigger, and that's when I realized how overpowered it is, because it turns your pistols into automatic machine guns and you just delete your enemies from existence. And also, I've been playing a lot of Fallout lately, so I was listening to some Fallout music, and it's a very weird vibe killing a bunch of demons to a bunch of 1950s music just straight up vibing.
Uranium fever has done and got me down. Uranium fever is spreading all around.
Then I went to go upgrade my guns, but I forgot I lost all my money in NFTs, so I'm just going to be a broke boy for a while. And during the early game, it's honestly really easy just to stand there and shoot, and most of the enemies will never even be able to reach you, and Dante will just auto-lock onto any of the enemies that get closest to you, so they'll never even be able to touch you most of the time. The worst part so far is that you actually can't break any of the environment with your guns to get the red orbs out of it, so I actually am going to be a broke boy for a while, and that also unfortunately means that I can't break any of the barriers and stuff to be able to continue through the level, so you do actually have to use your sword for that. And since we're utter failures already, we're just going to turn this into a can you beat all the bosses and enemies in Devil May Cry 2 only using your guns video. But the rest of the level is pretty smooth sailing. We kill some more drones, kill some spiky boys, and then we skedaddle on out of there. And in the next level, we get to the Goatsy King. I bust several caps in this man's ass, and then we get to our first boss. And the first boss was actually pretty easy. I was able to kill him my first try, and my strategy at first was just to stay away from him, but he kept jumping at me and squashing me with them thick cheeks, so I just decided to stay close to him instead, and that was actually a much better strategy. And that's because when you stand right in front of him, he'll basically just do the same move over and over again. He'll keep trying to hit you with them right and left hooks, but I've seen all 6 Rocky movies, so it was light work for me to dodge that. And it also helps that I had my devil trigger to erase like 50% of his health bar in like 5 seconds. And after that, we get to the next level, we get our speedy boy upgrade, and we make it to an actually pretty hard boss. And this fight's a lot harder because in order to even do damage to the boss, you have to take out one of these tentacles first, and that could take a good 30 seconds to a minute each time you have to do it. I did manage to find a nice sweet spot over here where only one of the tentacles would attack me, and it was pretty easy to just bait out this single attack if I stood in a certain spot, and then once I destroyed that, I would immediately just jump up in the air and just start blasting at the boss. And the best part is even when you do destroy one of the tentacles, the main boss still can't touch you because all he does is try to spit some poison at you, but it misses every single time if you're over in this spot. I really don't know why hentai girls have such a hard time avoiding these things. They should just watch my videos. But the most annoying part of this fight is actually when he just randomly decides to do this AoE attack that covers like 90% of the arena that is almost impossible to see coming, that I got hit by every single time, but luckily he only did it like 3 or 4 times. And after that epic battle, we start our next mission, and the first thing we gotta do is take out these wolves that have a very serious case of the zoomies. And then a reward for that is we get to take out the best designed enemies in any video game ever made since the beginning of time. And then of course that is followed up by the best boss fight in any game ever made since the beginning of time. FromSoft, take notes. And in the first phase, literally almost nothing happens. I literally just stand here while the helicopter floats out of my view, and I just keep shooting him over and over, and good thing Dante locks on, because if he didn't, I would have no idea where this helicopter's at. And also, I never noticed this in my sword only run, but those flame effects are super annoying. It's literally blocking your view like 90% of the time. And then we get to do this absolute epic Hollywood style chase up this tower, get to the top, get to fight him again, and it's basically more of the same. He just flies around. Most of the time he flies out of view, and I can't even see if I'm shooting him, but I can see that health bar going down, so that's all that matters. And then we finally get to the epic conclusion of the fight where I get to fight him one last time, and I get to stand here and shoot him, and then he dies. And instead of the game just starting us off at the next boss, it likes to start us about a half a mile down the road, so we have plenty of time to run there and think about what an utter failure I am in life. But after a quick jog, we make it to the next boss, and he's also pretty easy. You just stand there and just keep blasting and blasting, and at some point he'll summon some bats, but your guns pretty much take them out instantly. And the only thing you really have to worry about is sometimes when he shoots these light beams at you, but he hardly ever did that, and most of the time he just kept kind of slamming his side where I never really was, and I don't think I could ever even get over there for him to hurt me. And eventually I just used the devil trigger to quickly finish off his first phase. And the second phase is a little bit trickier, but it's also pretty easy. Most of the time it's really easy to avoid his creamy white hot blast, and you could just get behind him and just keep shooting him from there, and he can't even touch you. And eventually during the fight he will start adding these blue lightning attacks, but they're also super easy to avoid, so basically I just kept dodging, kept shooting, made my thumb hurt a lot, but we made it through. Then in the next level, I actually found this upgrade that I don't think I found in my last playthrough, which I wasn't exactly sure what did at first until I started fighting my next group of enemies, and it actually just sets them on fire, which is pretty cool. The amulet system is one of the only things from this game that I wish it would have kept in the future games, but oh well. But we finished that level, and then we immediately get thrown into another boss fight, and this is probably one of the easiest boss fights in the game so far. Other than at the very beginning where I forgot I needed to roll twice to avoid his attack, I didn't get hit a single time during this fight. Most of the time I just kept trying to do this move where he gives me the sucky, but it's really easy just to walk in the opposite direction and he can't do anything to you. you. Other than that, he'll only do this dash move that's also super easy to avoid, so yeah, this is definitely the easiest fight so far. One thing that really annoys me about this game is that half the time when you beat a boss, you'll drop some red orbs, but it'll always start a cutscene before you can actually grab them, and then after the cutscene, it'll start the next level, so you can never actually grab those orbs. After that, we make our super daring, hella epic escape from the burning building, and it was very cool. And soon after that, we immediately get into another boss fight, and this was easily one of the hardest, most annoying fights in my sword-only run, and you could probably imagine why, but this was definitely one of the easiest ones in this run. The only annoying part of this fight is that it's really hard to get Dante to shoot where you want him to, because there's always an enemy above you and always one below you, but you can only really make him shoot straight or shoot wherever he's locking on, so it's really hard to get him to lock onto the boss when there's always other enemies right below you. And all the enemies on the ground will actually infinitely respawn anyway, so it's not really worth killing them just so you can focus on the boss, so I would just ignore them the whole time. But after you kill the main boss, you actually do have to kill all the enemies on the ground, and that's honestly harder than the actual boss fight itself because they do a ton of damage if they manage to grab you. But eventually we make it through. After that embarrassment, we get yet another boss fight, and this dude was actually extremely hard. Probably one of the hardest in this run. It literally feels like a Dark Souls boss fight almost. First thing we gotta do to make the fight a little bit easier is take out these crackhead wolves, which isn't the easiest task because Dante likes to lock onto anything that moves, and avoiding getting hit by the main boss while trying to destroy the wolves is really hard. The main boss actually has a decent moveset. He could just dash at you out of nowhere. He could throw this spinning ghost blade thing at you. He could just run up to you and just start stabbing you and get you locked in a combo and just take away like half your health. He's just an all-around pain in the ass to deal with, but once you take out the wolves, it does get a little bit easier once you're fighting him solo. And once you have him solo, he just loves spinning around his weapon, just blocking all your bullets, but after I tried shooting him like a million times, I remembered that I had a rocket launcher and used that instead, and it went right through his defenses. And once I started using that rocket launcher, he was pretty easy to take down. And unfortunately, that leads us to the next part in the run, and I'm not sure if you would count this as a fail or not. I'll leave that up to you, because this thing doesn't actually have a health bar or anything, and you have to attack the things floating around him, so it's not really the enemy you're attacking, but you do have to attack it if you want to get through. So if you count that, then put it up on the board next to all the other reasons my dad doesn't love me. But after that, we get led to yet another boss fight, and this is when I realized that I've definitely been sleeping on this rocket launcher the entire time, because I used it for almost this entire fight, and I was just taking away huge chunks of his health per shot, and it's not even upgraded yet. And hilariously, you can just stand right out of range from him and just keep shooting him, and he'll barely attempt to get any closer to you. And you would probably think it would get a lot harder once he starts summoning other enemies to come fight me at the same time, but Dante just shoots them automatically as soon as they get close, and they die in like 1 or 2 rockets. I did get a little more risky in the end when I thought I could finish him off with my devil trigger, but I wasn't quite able to finish him off, and he starts summoning this blue lightning covering almost the entire map, and that's when I actually started taking damage and getting a little nervous. But it didn't matter anyway, because I was able to finish him off pretty quickly after that. And now this game isn't messing around, because I immediately get put into another boss fight, and this time I was able to upgrade my missile launcher before the fight, and yeah. Next we get to Mission 14, and as a wise man once said, fuck Mission 14. All my homies hate Mission 14. But honestly, this time around, it wasn't that hard because I actually knew where to go this time. But the first time I was going through this level, it sucked because it's super dark and it's super confusing and it's really hard to tell where you're supposed to go. But since I knew where to go this time, it took a fraction of the time and I made it to the next boss pretty quickly. And the rocket launcher, yet again, is coming in clutch because this fight was actually super easy. I was just able to stand right in front of him, make him do a couple swipes at me, shoot a rocket at him, roll away, rinse and repeat that until it was over. And near the end of the fight, I was able to use my devil trigger, and once I started doing that, the boss just completely stopped defending himself. He could just feel my main character energy and he gave up on life after that. And after that, the entire next mission is just standing here for 3 minutes, hopefully killing enough enemies to be able to move on, and it was super easy. I was able to do it with like over 20 seconds left to spare. Then we go through the next level, expertly dodging all these purple orbs, and then we get to fight this dude once again, except this time it is much easier because now I have a full devil trigger and I was able to take out the wolves almost immediately. And after that, I just stood back with the rocket launcher and he just stood there and let me blast him away. Just taking rocket after rocket with no regard to his safety, and he just went down super quick, way faster than the first fight. Then we gotta go through these super spooky hallways until we get to the next boss, and honestly guys, which one do you think gives the best head? Let me know in the comments. This fight did actually take me a handful of tries because you can get really unlucky and the head that you can actually damage might just never come down there or not come down there very often for you to be able to hit them, but on the time I did win, he just kept coming down and just kept taking punishment over and over again. And once they were fused together in the back, that's when I would use my devil trigger and just take a huge chunk of their health. It literally only took me a couple minutes to beat this fight, it, even though it took me like 5 or 6 tries. And immediately after that, we get to fight this guy again. And it is no different than the first time. He just eats these missiles for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a late night snack. He did surprise me in the middle of the fight when he suddenly just pulled out his own chopper and just shot me right in the face. But other than that, super easy fight. You can just ignore all the other enemies surrounding you. If they do get close, they'll probably get blasted away by your rockets, so it's nothing to deal with. And once I got his health down far enough, I just used my devil trigger, finished him off right there. One of the easiest fights in the game, once again. And finally, we make it to the last mission, and there's 2 more bosses we have to face. And the first boss is literally just like 6 bosses fused together, so I'll just quickly go over each one. And seriously, guys, which one of these dudes gives the best head? And some of these heads are actually a lot harder to fight than the others, so I actually had to use like 1% of my brain power to come up with a strategy to use my devil trigger on whichever ones I thought were the hardest to deal with. So first we gotta deal with this lovely gentleman, and his only 2 attacks are just shooting this beam at you that's usually pretty easy to jump over, and then he shoots like this shotgun beam of light, which I actually did get caught by a lot of the time, even though I would roll, but sometimes it could catch you anyway, which is pretty annoying. And you definitely do not want to get really close to him, because the closer you are, the more of the shotgun beam is gonna hit you, and the more it hits you, the more health it's gonna take, and it can literally one-shot you sometimes if you're standing too close, so the farther you stand away, the better. After I finish him off, I head on over to this bodacious baddie, and this is definitely the hardest one for me to deal with, so I'm definitely using my devil trigger for him, but unfortunately I was not able to kill him completely, so I did have to use a few rockets and take some damage, but it was still pretty easy. Next we gotta go take on this immaculate child of God over here, and this time I switched to my pistols because the rocket launcher is just a little bit too slow, because for this fight you mostly have to do a ton of dodging, and it's almost impossible to shoot and dodge without getting hit. So whip out the pistols, shoot, dodge, shoot, dodge, shoot, dodge until it's over. And after we finish him off, we scoot on over to this boner-inducing fellow over here. And at first, this is one of the hardest ones because it's really hard to get in range and actually make Dante lock on because he just hates locking on to this boss. But whenever I was in range, I would get hit. So it was kind of really hard to actually be able to do damage to him. Until I somehow just figured out if I just stand right here for some reason, he will just never hit me. And at first, I thought I just had to keep jumping in case he did this swipe attack at my feet, but he never even did that. So eventually, I just stopped jumping, and then eventually I just switched to my rocket launcher and finished him off that way. And then we move on to this titillating gentleman over here, and this one was actually pretty difficult to deal with. He has a couple different moves, one where he summons fire at your feet, and one where he just straight up shoots you with a fireball, and both of them require a lot of dodging, and my biggest mistake was dodging 2 times to the right and then trying to go back to the left, and I would always get hit that way. But after a while, you'll get the rhythm of dodging down, and you'll be able to just shoot, dodge, just like the other guy, and he'll go down pretty quickly. And finally, we can take on this sensual being over here, and he is definitely the easiest one to take on, especially since I had a lot of devil trigger saved up, and I just used that to take out like 90% of his health and use some rockets to finish him off right there. And now that we finally finished all them off, we can finally move on to the real last boss fight in the game. And on my first attempt immediately after that last fight, I thought it was all bad news because he was not taking any damage from my rockets at all. And once he finally did start taking damage from my rockets, he deployed the most devious strategy of all, slightly strafing to the right. What a fucking madman. But eventually I died and I came back to try again, and it turns out he's just straight up immune to all my bullets for certain phases of the fight. So unfortunately there is a lot of waiting you have to do to actually be able to do damage to him, her, but unfortunately for the boss, I still have devil trigger, and I literally just, I don't know how they let it be this broken. I was able to take out 75% of the boss's health just using devil trigger 1 time. And the best part is that your devil trigger will still build up even when you're shooting him and he's blocking all your bullets and you're not even doing any damage, and also when you get hit it'll help build that up. So it really wasn't too long before I had some more and I could just use that again to finish him off. The devil trigger in this game is so fucking broken. But hey, I'm not complaining because that just makes it easier for me. So, can you beat Devil May Cry 2 only using guns? No. No, you can't. Because since you're forced to use your sword to break through barriers to progress through the level and to solve some of the puzzles, I would have to say no. And plus that one enemy kind of thing that you have to use your sword on the things surrounding it just to move on would also probably count as an enemy, so definitely not. But other than those few things, the bosses and regular enemies and all that are super easy to take care of with the guns. Everybody is dead ass right when they say this game is easy with guns. But yeah, thanks for watching. It was a pretty easy challenge this time, but I hope you still enjoyed the video anyway. But have a good day, guys. Maybe leave a like and subscribe if you think I deserve it, and peace.